Welcome back to Disturbing the Priest. I have a very special episode today. I'm joined by the very evil Alastair Skull of the band Black Spell. They have a new single out now, Into the Darkness, which is absolutely fucking killer. Alastair, how are you, man? And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Problem. Thank you. Doing, I'm doing okay. Thank you very much.
Nice,
How are you
nice.
doing?
I'm doing all right. Is that the holy incense you're
Yeah,
smoking? Nice.
yeah, you're absolutely right.
Awesome, man. Well,
Just a little bit of dear old tobacco. Nothing fancy.
nice, nice. Well, Into the Darkness is the band's new single. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's absolutely killer. Can you give me a little
Thank you.
background on this new song?
Sure. Well, this song came about because the vocalist, the band leader of Ancient Days, which is actually a band from Indiana, I
Derek
guess.
Fletcher, right?
Derek Fletcher, yes, is a super nice guy, and we have been in contact through Instagram for quite a while, and because we liked each other music and so on, and he's a really nice guy. So we were talking, and he came up with the idea of doing a collaboration, basically. And he asked if we had like some basically if we were working on some new music, and we said no, but we had some older recordings that were around, but not really used until when he came on with this idea. And so basically, we chose a track from those recordings, and basically we mixed it just a little bit, and then he went on to do the vocals for the track, and that basically it became this track Into the Darkness, which is actually the title is really it's quite similar to the last album that we
Yeah.
released. But he decided I told him, yeah, you can do the lyrics, you can choose the title, so no problem at all. So uh, we are super fine with it.
Yeah, and he fits in so well, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, if the feature thing wasn't on the song, I would have guessed. Do you see the
Mm.
band doing more collaborations in the future? Is that something you're open to?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We like all of us, we love so many bands that are around today, basically in this doom and stoner, these new underground bands like us, like also Ancient Days. We are a big fan of their work. So I can already tell you that there is more that is coming with Derek on vocals. So. uh, We can't share more details right now, but it will be probably at least an EP with Derek on vocals because we found out that first of all, I like his vocals a lot. It's so like there is so much in emotions in his vocals. They are great, like retro and so on. And so I really love the idea of doing more tracks with him on vocals because I think his vocals fit perfectly our music, our background music. And so, yes, we are working with him for sure, still for more tracks.
Very exciting, man. And it must give
Yeah,
you
thank you.
a break, and you can focus more on guitar, organs, because you're juggling quite a lot. It seems like he's the closest we're going to get to a fourth Black Spell member at this point.
Yes, yes. And to tell you the truth is something that personally I would. I would enjoy it so much if he was actually full full on in our band. There is a little bit of a problem of some distance between us because yeah, we are in Italy and he's from Indiana, so yeah, this could be a problem. But to do recordings, it can work extremely well. We just saw him doing this track, and he's really passionate about it. He was the one that started the whole thing, asking us to do this. So we really appreciated his effort and his passion. Actually, yes.
Awesome. Now, I love the band's songwriting, and between the three of
Thank you.
you, what does that
Thank you.
creative chemistry look like between members when like composing music?
Well, this is actually an interesting question because we are a kind of a little bit of a strange band, I would say, because we are like we love doing Black Spell 100%. We are when we do it, we put all of ourselves into this project, but we don't see each other very much, to tell you the truth, between the band members. We have our very own lives to carry on with regular jobs and families and the regular stuff. But when we started this band, actually, I already had like probably 90% of the riffs when we were doing the first album. 90% of the riffs I wrote them on my own. And it was also a different time because it was a full-on pandemic, coronavirus pandemic time. So it was definitely, it seems like already 100 years old, but it was actually just 5 years old back then, the first album. So I had way more, much more time to focus on songwriting, basically being on my own a lot more than these days. And so the first album was more like me presenting this material to the other guys, and they were actually very interested. So both John and Pierre, they said, "Okay, let's do it." Without any kind of expectation, just recording the stuff on our own and enjoying it, having some fun. But it was then it was kind of just one of a kind because then when we saw that people were kind of enjoying our stuff online basically, and they were buying the vinyls already, there was kind of some interest, about this record. So then we decided to basically go back to write new stuff, uh, and that was already in early 2021. So it was still in the pandemic time, but we had some more of a brainstorming, about the tracks and the riffs. So. And I saw that personally, I really liked working like that. We enjoyed it probably, I would say a lot to just try things together more because originally because I had to write most of the stuff on my own, and then they had to adapt to the riffs and the ideas that I had. And for the second album, which probably to this day is probably the one that is more had most success among fans of stoner doom and whatever. And then I think, and I would probably agree that overall, in hindsight, I would say is the album where we were more like all together. The three of us were, yeah, I would say, really hyped to make new music. Really, the chemistry was almost alchemical. I would say it was really magic. That album, and also the production was a little bit more. I would say less rough probably than the first one. I was yeah, it is what it is. Is a little bit. Now we are actually working on remixing and remastering the first album, which is something that it was in my mind for quite a bit because the first album was done actually also. Yeah, we were smoking a lot, doing some extra stuff that probably it didn't deliver the mixing so good. But yeah, but people still seems back then seem to love the lo-fi approach of the first album, especially.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you agree?
I agree
Any?
100%. I do like, I see both sides for sure, you know, because I do like the lo-fi elements of it, but it would be nice to also hear like, you know, kind of a more polished take on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And that makes sense, you know, if you're smoking a lot and you're trying to like
yeah,
produce the record, it definitely helps with songwriting for sure. But in
yeah.
terms of like balancing everything and getting that master right, now I do. There's a lot of points I want to touch upon in everything you just said there. You were talking about the band kind of being born out of the pandemic, which I
Yeah,
think is
yeah,
very, you know, doom-esque, I guess.
yeah,
But so
yes.
can you elaborate on the band's formation there? And like, was it the pandemic specifically where you're just kind of sitting around and you're like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna put some songs together?
Uh, for the most part, yes, it would. It was really like that because it was such a strange time to be alive, basically because yeah, in Italy, all of a sudden we were like, we weren't allowed to go out past like I don't even remember, like it was this. Yeah, you could go around during the day, but not during nighttime. So it was even like almost police state situation, and I was even pretty. Yeah, sometimes I remember I was feeling like pissed and stuff like that. So, but this is just one little side of the story because obviously I was already writing music on my own for quite some time, trying to write riffs that were basically influenced by Black Sabbath, to, obviously. Then some, yeah, we are also a big fan of Electric Wizard, obviously. So yeah, I was working on with that mindset, and in a way, I was really enjoying it because there was, like a possibility to escape the city situation that was back then. I was spending a lot of time with my Gibson SG. The, Now, in a way, I can look back at it with like some nostalgic feeling, like was because it was. Yeah, really a unique situation. It was perfect to write stoner, do music, let's say, do make music. So,
Yeah.
but then obviously there is the other side of Black Spell. Actually, there are many sides of Black Spell, but one side is obviously the occult, the interest in, Aleister Crowley and so forth, all the magic in every kind of form, like not just black magic. We are interested in these topics. quite a lot since when for myself I can say since when I was a kid, basically when I was 12, 13, 14, something like that. So all these things came together, and seems like the time was quite right to do this kind of art or music. So yeah, this was quite interesting. And I would say there is also a little bit of nihilism, and but in a good way. If you listen, if you are interested in reading the lyrics, sometimes uh, probably more so in the first, the second album, even the third album. Now I already mixed up some things about these albums because we made it in a relatively short time. The all these four albums. If you look back at the 70s and 80s, a lot of bands were actually releasing basically one album per year.
Right.
Now it seems like people are taking more time on, which is completely fine. But we were so eager to do more recordings that we went with the old school way of doing like basically one album per year, more or less, 1 year and a half. Then yeah,
Cool.
so yeah, your question was about the beginning, right, of the band.
Yeah, just like how
Yeah,
the band formed, but like
yeah, yeah.
you definitely answered it for sure. And something I do want to touch upon is you were talking about, with that first debut, the self-titled, that you
Yeah.
brought old riffs over from, back in the day. Now, I just want to know, how old are some of these riffs? Are these like from like first getting into guitar? What would you say
Mm.
are some of the oldest riffs specifically on the self-titled?
Uh, so you have to consider that I was playing guitar since I was basically I was 11, 12 years old. But so when I was really a young fella, I played. I've been playing with different bands since already when I was still a kid. But these bands, once first of all, it was a different time because we're talking about 2000, early 2000s, 2002, 2003. So now I'm 32. So yeah, basically that's the time frame. And we were doing for especially covers of like from Black Sabbath to Iron Maiden, the usual stuff that every metalhead should be growing with, right? Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, some Deep Purple, obviously, and two Iron Maidens, probably some Motorhead too. The usual suspects. But with all these early bands, we have never made songs on our own. So it was only cover. The Yeah, you can imagine. By the way, we were still learning even like to play our instruments back then. So it was for sure it was kind of messy. But then after I've been after these experiences with other people, I stopped playing in bands like for some years. Like in my early 20s, I wasn't playing with other people, but I was still playing guitar on my own for most part. But I was still in contact with other people that were playing, but they were busy with some other projects, other bands, and so forth. So then with these other guys that actually I'm friend with them since we are friends since many years, like even probably we were like 16 or 17 when we first met, but we have never really played together in a band. So Black Spell was actually really, as I told you before, the kind of me presenting them this stuff, saying, "Hey, I worked on this stuff, and if you like it, just give me a call and let me know what do you think." And so basically, you asked how old are these riffs, but it's really difficult for me to say. Probably some of them, the original stuff is probably was already some parts at least were around since like 10 years ago, something like that. But then they it was actually in 2020 when I basically finalized all the stuff and I decided, okay, this riff will be after this riff. There will be the solo here, this kind of
Like
stuff.
arranging the music. Yeah,
Yes, yes, the arrangement was actually the 2020. I felt really inspired in a way, to complete these recordings. And yes, I think it worked quite well in a way. In a way, yeah.
for sure, man. And you were talking about some of your earliest influences. I'd love to know like what was your first exposure to stoner doom metal? You remember that?
Yes, yes. I mean, we should uh, we should make it clear if we have to include Black Sabbath into this.
Of course.
Because
Yeah.
if we have to include Black Sabbath, my early exposure was really early when I was shit. Well, I can work also only with one.
I can still hear
Um,
you.
okay, okay, so everything
Well, yeah,
is
Black
good.
Sabbath for sure, but would
Yeah,
you call them stone? I guess you could call them stoner doom with Master of Reality, right?
Master of Reality is the one where everything started. Some people say, right, but I would say if you hear the first album already, like it's to me it's, looking back it's some way even funny somehow because the first track begins and that's not even metal in a like traditional way. That is full on doom, satanic metal. They skipped all the traditional metal part and they went on from the get-go into this doom. I, I can remember I was probably 12, 11, 12 years old when I first heard that Black Sabbath track, and it scared the shit out of me. It was so freaking scary. Still these days, sometimes if you listen to it really stoned in the dark, it's an unpleasant experience, right? Like not really so pleasant to listen to in the dark with candles and shit.
Yeah, well, there was that old thing of like if you play the record and you look at
Mm,
the cover in the dark with candlelights during the song
yeah.
Black Sabbath, the trees like move. That was like an
Oh.
old like legend, but I think
Uh,
everyone was just tripping back in the day.
yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, but I will try to now that I know.
Try tonight, yeah.
Yeah,
So besides Sabbath, would you say like Electric Wizard?
yeah.
Yeah,
Probably to tell you the truth, before Electric Wizard, I discovered Sleep because Sleep, yeah, it was some years before I even listened to Electric Wizard because I was getting a lot into the stoner slash doom stuff and Sleep were probably probably I don't know if they were actually the first to get into my radar, but if they weren't the first, they were one of the most important after Black Sabbath because yeah, Sleep are just great. And I mean, Holy Mountain was a huge deal for me when I was 16, 17. So some years later, after I was listening to Black Sabbath, actually, because you have you have to consider that back then internet wasn't such like huge thing like it is right. So I was still buying like Metal Hammer zines Zines from from like the newspaper like shop. So that was still the main way for me to get into some more metal. But unfortunately, I would say that there was a lot of after a lot of garbage back then. That just it is what it is. I was trying to discover more music, but when I was like 12 to 13 years old, I was obviously discovering the big ones like from Slayer. Obviously, I was a big fan of Slayer, even early Metallica. So all the American thrash and also European thrash like Creator, Sodom, Destruction. I was getting into uh, thrash metal, speed, death, and then black metal. But that happened in a really short time, like since from when I was 12 to 14, basically, I discovered Dark Throne and all that satanic dark black metals that I still love to this day, like some Dark Throne Mayhem, But then I don't know how it happened, but I was really going back to the Sabbath stuff and the slow stuff. It was like it was grabbing me back, and so I had this big phase in which I was listening to Sleep. Then even bands like Caius, I was, but they were missing the occult stuff that I was interested in
Right.
that stuff. And then when I first heard Electric Wizard, I was already like 19, so I was already like quite a big boy. And the first time I listened to yes, Dope Throne. Well, Dope Throne was obviously the album that that I listened the first time of first album of Electric Wizard that I listened to. And I was with some friends. I don't even remember if they knew Electric Wizard, but because the memory is a little bit hazy. But I think we were smoking, and probably I said, "Okay, let's try this," something like that, if I remember correctly. Like Funeralopolis, like it was even too much. Was back then, it was like what the hell we are listening to? Like we are super stoned, and this is making us feel completely like pleasant. It was so you know heavy and crazy. So basically, before getting into Electric Wizard, I had to give them like more, not just one listen, but more listening sessions. Then I get it. Then I got them. And that's pretty for me. It's interesting because like some albums they can grab you, some bands they can grab you since the beginning, but when they are a little bit more acquired taste, I think it's when they are really the best that I can think of. Like if you have to listen to the band or the album a little bit and then bam, out of nowhere, you really get what they are doing. It's still probably my favorite, musical experience that I can get personally.
Right. I feel like some of the best things in just like, pop culture are acquired taste, music,
Yeah, yeah,
movies, all that
yeah.
stuff. Now, I do want to touch on the Purple Skull. You were saying that this was, instead of you just bringing old riffs back, this was more of like a collaborative effort. I'd love to know what the ratio was between freshly written stuff and old stuff, if there even if that even is the case, and the general approach to songwriting for the second album.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's interesting because basically we after the first album we started working together from scratch basically. So all the music that you can listen from Black Spell after the first album is really a mutual exchange of ideas, and so I can't tell you the percentage, exactly the percentage of the input, but it's like it's almost like 33% point something of the every single one of us in a
Right.
way. It was the second album, especially. Everyone had some ideas, that we wanted to try. Even John, the drummer, he did some part on the synthesizer as well, and then that become a kind of a recurrent theme on all of the other albums after the Purple School the Purple School on. So yeah, we really became more of a band in a way, even if we are still enigmatic. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Enigmatic project. Yeah. So yeah, the songwriting changed completely after the first album. Yeah, completely, definitely.
Interesting. Now,
Mm.
I'm just curious. Do you have a go-to guitar when it comes to recording? And
Yes,
okay, and it's on every record. There's this one guitar you use. What kind of
yes,
guitar
yes,
specifically?
yes. That so my main guitar is actually my beloved black Gibson SG.
Nice.
No, it's a 98 special, which they don't even make it anymore like that. They have changed that. I don't know the year, but the Gibson changed the special line after 2000 something. So that is a kind of back then they were doing so the special were like the a little bit the low end of the Gibson SG lines, but they used to make them very good guitars, very good. And I only changed the pickups, and I put some little bit more expensive Gibson, still Gibson, the humbuckers, but for the rest is basically is completely the same guitar with scratches and all that stuff. And that is the guitar where I wrote all of the riffs from the first and the second album. Then for the third album, I tried an Epiphone SG, which I never actually had an Epiphone before, so I bought one. It was 2000 end of 2021, something like that. And on that guitar, I recorded the third album, Season of the Damned. So Season of the Damned is completely no, is 90% recorded on that Epiphone SG. It's cherry red one, except for the Black Abyss track, which is recorded on the old one. Then again, wanted to try a new Gibson SG. So I bought a new the standard SG, the one with the white how do you say
Yeah.
the white lines on the neck, And with that, with that one, I recorded all of the last album, Into Darkness. I recorded with a new Gibson SG. The sad news is that after that recording, I sold both of the Epiphone SG and the new Gibson SG, and I just went back to my beloved original guitar. So
98. Yeah.
yeah, that guitar, because when you have so much feeling and you have played an instrument for so many years, the feeling is completely different. To build the same feeling with another guitar, it will take probably 20 years or something like that. So it would be too much. So I decided to. I mean, I'm okay with the recording of the last two albums. I mean, I think for what we do, they were okay, but the feeling wasn't completely there. So I said, okay, let's sell in, let's sell those two, and I will play only with my original one. No, 100%.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool to hear, man. Now, I love the band sound, and since we're just like already talking about kind of gear, what are other gear and pieces of equipment you use to get that true like black spell sound?
So I can only speak for the guitars basically, because the bass player is just bass player. He uses a lot of stuff, but actually, I think for the last two albums, he decided to get rid of like basically all of the pedals that he used. It was like straight from the bass to his amp, which I don't even remember exactly what amp he used for the last album, for example. So I'm not. I mean, I'm kind of a nerd, but for the bass, it's like bass is like. Different word to me, so I'm not much. I don't have much knowledge.
Me
But for the
neither.
git,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah, okay. For the guitar sound, it changed actually a bit, because I started with an orange amp for the first two albums. It was an uh, what was the model? Because I sold even that one actually. But it was an orange amp, a regular one, to say, is like not the expensive one. Just if you, I don't even remember the name exactly. Sorry. But
It's all
then I
right.
after that I purchased uh, a Marshall. That because I used to play back then with when I was younger, with only the combo amps, so it was really cheap. Was perfect if you wanted to play some lo-fi black metal, for example. That was the shittiest amps that I could get. But yeah, then after we started Black Spell, and I saw that, yes, in a way, I wanted to experiment a little bit with the sound, so I bought some. And now my pedalboard is way bigger than it used to be, and probably it's bigger than what it should be, because yeah, some effects are really, you know just you use it like probably 10 seconds in a song or something like that, and then like you're over with that. But yeah, now I really like. I was a big fan of Marshall since when I was a kid. And there is a little bit of debate, I guess, if whether if Marshall is a good amplifier for playing to play like doom metal, because a lot of Marshall amps are the regular amps that you can find, like in festivals. Everybody's playing them, from punk rock bands, from stoner doom bands, or everything in between. So, but I always loved the Marshall sound since I was a kid. Like even at AC/DC was big, big. I was a big fan of that sound.
Yeah.
So I decided it was 2000. Was early 2020 22. Yes, when I decided to get a Marshall more expensive amp. What you can listen to last two albums, and even we had an EP in between the new album, the last two album full length. It's all powered by Marshall sound, you know.
Cool.
I liked it. I don't know. I don't have many feedbacks if people like maybe even realize the change of the equipment or so. But yeah, I think you can hear that if you listen.
Well, definitely going back to this music now, I know I'll definitely be able to hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, really cool to hear, man. Now, of course, Into Darkness is the band's most recent full length, and I think just keeps that consistent quality going with this newest album as well. How do you feel like this album personally stands out in the Black Spell discography?
Mm. Yeah. This But thank you for this question. It's first time that anyone ever asked me like a question like this, to tell you the truth. Mm, in a way, it's difficult for me to because first of all, we have changed the approach to songwriting, as I told you. So maybe I could speak more about the first album, being that I was basically the main composer, if you will. But for this album, I think Into Darkness was like in a way we were trying to expand our sound a little bit, and I think even the production is even more old school. I would say probably the more old school of all of them. In a way, more 70s, probably late 70s, something like that. Um, it's, I would say I hope it's an interesting album to listen to if you like. Probably even metal in general, especially if you like, obviously, early Sabbath, maybe something like that. Even some Pentagram, maybe. Uh, there was this a little bit of an exception for the last track of the album is an entirely basically instrumental track, which is completely made by me and the drummer John, on synthesizers and some organs. And yeah, it's kind of. I don't think we have ever done anything like that before. It's 8 minutes, completely. Basically, it could be a soundtrack for some old school horror movie. I would say
Definitely.
that was the goal. We didn't know if people that liked the previous stuff from Black Spell would have liked this song, this track, I would say. But yeah, we were actually pretty. We were satisfied with that instrumental, so dark and ethereal track. But for the rest, yeah, I think it's what it's like a evolution of our sound, basically from the previous album. Like it's like we are going like a little bit like this, I would say. Meaning the compositions for me, um, probably, some tracks are more straightforward. Probably the last two of the album before the instrumental, they are like probably something that would have fit also the first album, if I can say that. The other tracks are probably they are a bit more complex than the previous album. I will say. Mm, I don't know if you have an opinion
I
about it.
really enjoy it. I think
Mm,
this like slight change of pace is really cool for the band. You know, I think it's very natural in terms of the band's sound. And I'm
yeah.
curious if the band's going to lean into this more with future material or kind of just go back to kind of the sound of the first few
Mm,
records.
yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Uh, it's it's hard to say right now because
Yeah.
if you listen to the new single with Derek, being that they were actually all the recordings, as I said the beginning of the beginning, you
Right.
can hear that the sound was like it's more linked to the early stuff. Also, the pedal, I changed also the fuzz pedal that I used nowadays for the last album is a completely different pedal from the first two albums. Even the third album was different. So I was experimenting a bit also with the fuzz sound mm, for the film. I mean, we try to keep things organic, you know. Like this is a completely like organic evolution of ours. We didn't think too much about we want what we really wanted to sound for like the third album and this last album, and I think that is the best and only way to us is just when we get together, we actually we find we find ourselves what the next album will sound like. You know, it's 100% organic. Even though I will say, yeah, you know, for into darkness, the I was looking probably to, as I said, to a more 70s sound. So, but I can't tell you if the new recordings will be still into this very direction. You know, with this, like into the 70s, or if we will be maybe try to go back to a little bit electric 90s electric wizard. You know, you never know. I would
Cool.
say you never know. You never know. Yeah.
Well, I'm open to it, whatever it is. I feel like the band, there's an
Thank you.
emphasis on, like psychedelics and stuff.
Yeah.
And like it is like a psychedelic, like doom stoner band.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's normal to experiment and everything. And I
Yeah.
believe the fans understand that as well. So I think
Yeah.
being open to changing stuff up and stuff is something that the fans, and including myself, are very open for and excited to see. But if it's just same old Black Spell, I'm very happy to hear that as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
For sure. Now, I'm just curious, do you have a favorite Black Spell record, or is it impossible to pick?
Think it should be impossible. It should be impossible, but for you know, just probably something that I said also before, a little bit of nostalgic reasons and the magic of the time. The first album was really something. Something weird, something weird, but something magical that even if we tried, we will never be able to make a record like that again. It would be completely impossible. So in a way, the first album was still is kind of the probably the one that gives me the most magical feeling and occult feeling and whatever feeling it out of all the recordings that we have done so far. That album is, and now that's why I'm trying to push also the other guys to make to finish the mixing, the remixing and remastering of that album because I want to give people a second option, like a second a new. I don't know if I can say improved version, but probably a little bit slightly better, at least acoustically better version of that first album. It's kind of important for me personally, a little bit important.
I think that would be a great addition, and that's something I'd really love to hear as
Mm.
well. And definitely was a big album for me when it comes to listening to the band's material because that was my first exposure to the band
Okay.
because I saw that cover and I'm like, this is gonna fucking kick ass with
Well,
the
the first,
retro blood.
yeah, yeah, thank you. Well, the first cover actually we are not so much into it anymore nowadays because it was really, yeah, it was in a way it was a cheap cover. The first, I mean, not the vinyl cover was done from a guy in Germany because our label for the first album. There were two labels actually. One was for Forbidden Place Records from the States.
Yeah.
I think they were in. I don't remember if they were in Ohio, but I no, sorry, I don't remember because they even changed place. But the other, so they basically they kept the original cover for the vinyl edition and even the CD edition of the first album. In Germany, the other label, they basically they decided to change to make a better version of the cover of the artwork. It was done by a guy in Germany. And yeah, I would say that today we definitely enjoy more the improved cover of that record. But it is what it is. At least some people enjoy the original cover also as well. So
Well, yeah, I just like you can look at it and you know exactly what you're getting into. I feel like doom metal is famous. Like even Paranoid, I think is kind of a bad cover
yeah,
of Black Sabbath.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
it's kind of in line with that. Well, I do want to touch upon this real quick. Before we started, we talked about, how there's no live footage of the band. Is that going to change anytime soon? Do you have any desire to do that?
yeah. So this is this is a difficult topic for me personally because we have never been able to the three of us and the three of us to really say okay, let's go and do like this show or that show because we actually had some invitations from, like Europe, from UK, definitely a couple of at least two or three probably uh, requests, but we have never been able to say okay, we will be ready for that date for that show. So we always had to basically politely turn down the invitations because maybe one time it was because of the bass player, the other time was because of the drummer, and another time was because of myself. So yeah, that's why I always say we are 100% strange band in a way because a lot of people would be super excited to have all like different invitations or requests to play even in the States, even if nowadays it's a little bit more problematic to come to the States because of the
Right.
visa and stuff. But yeah, I say never, but I cannot say exactly this year we will be doing all these dates, precisely. And if it happens, it will be, I hope, a pleasant surprise for people that want to see us live. Yeah,
I'd say it's a compliment for sure, especially getting all these like invites and
yeah.
everything. But as long as
Yeah,
the
well,
band's making new material, I'm happy.
yeah, thank you. I mean, we are 100% so far a studio band, which is actually not so cool because going to the studio is the easiest thing that we can do. Yeah, we can like if somebody is even too stoned or too drunk, we can take our time. Definitely something that you cannot do playing live. So yeah, we are. It's easy to do recordings when we have like we know we have the time to make it all together. But yes, I am the first one to say that a great band should be a great live band, possibly, which is not always the case for people that play. They make good material in the studio, but maybe they are. But there is also the opposite situation. Some people they can be extremely good playing live, even if their albums are not the best or something like that. So yeah. I would add that we would have never been probably able to make all of these recordings if we were also a live band touring almost regularly or something like that. We would have never been able to to have four albums already out. So it is a little bit. It is what it is. We put all of our music on Bandcamp is the name your price, so people can if you wanted to have the album on your Apple Music or whatever it is that you use for free on your PC, you are completely able to do that. So that's the only thing that we can do for now, even to people maybe they stumble upon our album on Bandcamp or whatever they really enjoyed, they can have it for free, so no problem at all.
Awesome.
Instead of downloading or somewhere even or something like that, you can download from Bandcamp for free.
Really awesome, man. And it's been great talking to you. But as we wrap up here, I just want to kind of give you the floor. What's the future of Black Spell look like generally?
Mm. That's a great question. In a way,
Not
I,
sure.
I would, yeah, not sure. I would say that depends also what you mean is for the live part. I think I have already answered
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
last
but
question.
just in the
For
general future, in
Mhm.
terms of, I know we talked about like a new studio record, but if there's
Yeah,
anything else, you want to plug, promote, like maybe if you guys are getting new
yeah,
merch, anything specifically that's coming out in the future, like a roadmap, maybe new singles, just whatever.
yeah. I would say like keep your eyes open because we are, as I said before, with Derek, we are cooking something. That I personally I really enjoyed. I'm really enjoying how the things are turning out. With Derek on vocals. So there might be something cool in the near future if you already like the first single, "Into the Darkness." So if you are interested, definitely keep an eye on our pages for new music. Yeah, if we can, we will be already 100% psyched to make new music soon and to release it. It has been for the last 5 years now. It's already a long trip.
Yeah.
And for the rest, I really appreciated this chat with you. Really enjoyed, man. Thank you so much.
Me too, man.
Was
It's been great meeting you, and we've
Yeah,
been a
thank you.
little back and forth with the email, but I'm glad we were able to make it happen because I'm a
Yeah,
huge fan of you guys, and
thanks
this
so
is
much.
technically a doom metal podcast, so it's nice to have you on and talk about the music. But before we end things off, when it comes to people wanting to stay updated with the band, what's the best way for people to do that? Like website, social media?
100% social media. If you are on Instagram, you have to check Black. Uh, Let me think about it. It's Black dot spell dot doom. You're ready to go. And also on Facebook, if you don't use Instagram. I think we have also an X X X page,
Yeah.
but we don't update it much. So yeah, most likely it's most important is Instagram and Facebook if you like. So yeah, you can check us out there. Do you have an Instagram? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay,
I
because
think I
I
follow the band on both my accounts, on like the podcast and personal.
okay.
Um,
Because I have to check if I am following you back. I really want to see even more episodes of because I can't remember right now if I'm following your page. I will do it. If I don't, I will do it right now.
Also, I'll send you a message.
Okay,
I should be
great,
following you for sure.
great.
I've definitely been on the band's Instagram page multiple times. But anyway, man, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and just thank you for giving your insights on the band. Really, really appreciate it.
No, yeah, thank. It was really my pleasure.
Awesome,
Oh,
awesome.
I'm going. I'm going back to my black rituals and stuff. But yeah.
Awesome. Hell yeah, man. I'm Brandon Battick, and this has been Disturbing the Priest.
It's death! I've just seen death!